Welcome to another session on money. We are going to talk about the business of life. Most of us never look at our lives as a business. And what I mean by this is, let's look at a normal business. A normal business simply is a set of transactions. You have income and you have expenses. And like any other business, if your expenses are more than your income, that business will be in the red. And if it's the other way, where the income is more than your expenses, then that's a healthy business. And that's why you'll always be told that cash flow is king. Now let us look at the business of life. If you look at your life, you constantly spending money. Everything that you have on you now, the clothes you're wearing, the food that you eat, the car that you drive, the electricity that you use, the water that you use, every single thing that you have in your life right now, it's somebody else selling you, which means for you it's an expense, but in somebody else's life it's an income. So let's break it down in terms of transactions here and look at our lives, because the minute we simplify how our lives is, it becomes much easier for us to control it. Now we have expenses. And under this, in most cases, we have rent, we have transport, we have food, we have school fees, we have medical, we have entertainment, we have pets, we have clothing. And of course, we have family here. These are expenses. These are things that on a consistent monthly, they need money. And then we have income. For most people here, we have a salary, you have a business, you're a consultant, and all those. Now, to simplify your life, think of everything that you use. Every single day, you have to eat food, you have to travel to work, you have to live under your house, you have to put on that switch for electricity, you have to turn on that tap for water, and you get paid only once a month. So if your expenses are daily and you get paid once a month, don't you think that your life can only change if you change that equation? You have to be paid every day, and then you have to be, expenses have to be once. But as long as our expenses are daily and our income is once, then we have a problem. Now, if you look at life, any other business, you have expenses, you have income, and then we have debt. Now, under debt, we have what we call long cycle debt. Your long cycle debt, and this is things like your mortgage. This will, in most cases, take a longer time. Most mortgages 20 to 25 years. And then you have a short cycle debt. These are things like your cars, things like your TVs for people that buy them on that, and all those. You have to decide. It's very hard to avoid debt, but we have good debt and we have bad debt. But this is where it becomes interesting if you look at us as black people, especially as black men, how we live. Our transactions are more expenses than income. Why? Because majority of us as black people, our only income is a salary. Which means we're operating at one of the lowest value chain when it comes to the value chain in terms of producing revenue. When it comes to that, we talk about four things. One, we have, if this is how you make money, the lowest one here, level 4, is where you use muscle. And under muscle, you have two constraints, time and energy. Now, as an employee, These are the two constraints. They're all limited. There's only a certain number of hours in a day that you can work. You only have a finite amount of energy that you can. This you work the hardest from a very physical point of view, but your remuneration is always low. And if we're working for a salary, we are working for somebody else, automatically the income here will always be lower. The second one here, the third one here is what we call managerial. When it comes to this now, you're using other people's time. You have your own time plus energy plus other people's time and energy. So this increases your income. You're getting much, much more than this because collectively you're leveraging other people's time and energy. Then you have your second one here. Your second one here is what we call managerial. The second one here is where to use your mouth. And this one is what we call communication. Communication is the ability for you to be able to move people, the ability for you to be able to reach a lot of people. And that brings in more effect, it brings in more change. Now, if you look at this, I'll bring in people like actors, I'll bring in people like singers, I'll bring in people like salesmen. If you look at this, if we are to use the analogy of a car, unless you use a car like a Rolls Royce, the people that physically assemble the Rolls Royce, they use time and energy. These are the physical people that build that car. But when it comes to the remuneration chain, they are always at the lowest. Then you get the manager, the one that manages these people in the plant. He gets more because he's using his time, his energy, and he's leveraging the other employees' time. And then you have the salesman on the floor. The salesman on the floor, the Rolls Royce, is getting 3-4 times more than the man that works on the floor to make the car and the manager that mans these people. And then the last one here is what we call mind. And this is what we call imagination. Now, all you need here is thinking. All you need here is thinking. The guy that thought about Rolls Royce, the guy that came up with the blueprint for the Rolls Royce, this is the guy that gets more money than all these people. Now, for you to be able to make more money, you have to make sure that you move from up this ladder. Majority of us that are employed, majority of us as black men that are employed, unfortunately, we're getting a salary and we are stuck here. So the harder we work, we can work as hard as we can, but the two constraints here are time and energy. Now, when it comes to debt, how are we going to run our lives for us to make sure that these transactions are in our favor, that we have more income and less expenses? That brings us to debt. Most of us get into the wrong debt. We have good debt and wrong debt. What is a good debt? A good debt is money that is propelling you forward. For example, if I'm going to get money from the bank to buy a car that takes me to work, to buy a car that takes my family from point A to B, if I'm going to the bank to take money that is going to upgrade my skill set, I'm going back to school, that is good debt. But now, if I'm going to go to the bank to buy an expensive car that takes me from home to work, and the majority of the 8-10 hours I'm at work, that car is parked under a tree, and it's costing me 20,000 rands, and I'm only getting 40,000 rands a month. Now, that is a bad debt. If I'm going to get money from the bank to buy a house in an area that I cannot afford, then that is bad debt. Now, how do we change this? To change this is, we need, number one, we need to leverage the vehicle that we use. Wealth is not defined by money. Wealth is not defined by how much money you have now. Wealth is simply defined by how fast you make that money. For example, how you make money is the vehicle that we're going to use here. And if I have to use my own physical analogy, if I had to walk, it means I have to buy sports shoes. Then if I want to get there faster, then I have to buy a bike. The bike will be more expensive than the sports shoes. If I want to get there faster than on a bike, I have to get a motorbike. Then if I want to get there faster than a motorbike, I have to get a car. And whichever vehicle that I get into, it costs more. But that increases my speed. If I say John has $1 million or John has $1 million, is he rich? It depends on what? On how long it took John to create or generate $1 million. Because if he was generating 25,000 rands or $25,000 a year, and he did that for the next 40 years, of course he's made $1 million, but is he rich? But what happens if I say James has $1 million, but he makes that 1 million in 1 year? Now, James is 40 times more richer than John. But what happens when we have somebody else that is Steve, that is making $1 million in 1 month? So it's purely the vehicle that you use that determines how rich you are. Now the question here is, how do I make money faster? Now to make money faster, use the biggest development tool that you need to sharpen. Use the tool that you're going to use. One, money is mind. The more you invest in your mind, the more money you're going to attract. So personal development becomes the first thing that you do when it comes to wealth creation. The pocket cannot grow until the mind grows. And most of us, unfortunately, as black men, we're investing more time. We think the more hours we work, the more we're going to make. That has to change. It is the people that think more. You can think more. If you work hard and think less, I can guarantee you one thing. And I'm not bashing working hard. Working hard is good for you. It's good for your character. It's good for the spirit. But working hard can only guarantee you one thing. Working hard is going to get you tired, but it's not going to get you rich. If you want to get rich, you have to change the vehicle. I want a fast car. I don't want to be a Toyota while I'm driving towards my wealth creation destination. I want to be a Ferrari. I want to be a Lamborghini. I want to be the fastest sports car that is a high performance to get me there. And that's why it's important for you to invest in personal development. You cannot have personal freedom until you have financial freedom. And financial freedom leads to self-mastery. Financial mastery leads to self-domination. So understanding money means you have to invest in yourself and you have to become the best, fastest vehicle that you can use. As we focus more on going to school, getting a degree, and somebody else employing us, that doesn't work. And that's why there's a big discrepancy. There's a very big rift between we as black people and other races. And as hard as we complain, as long as others are the producers and we are the consumers, we're going to struggle. Because when it comes to the debt cycle here, most of us are consumers. We have a country like South Africa where you have easily 65 million people, and you have 85% of us that have become consumers. We don't grow the food we eat. We don't make the cars we drive. We don't build the homes we live in. We don't generate the electricity that we use. You cannot constantly keep on buying and not selling anything into the world and expect to be free. Freedom cannot be attained by consumption. We cannot consume our way into freedom. Freedom only belongs to the producers, and that starts first by a very big paradigm shift. We need to change our mindset. Tell me what you agree or disagree with here. Share it with me in the comment section. Catch you later, and God bless.